So a thought form is the concept that if enough people think of the same thing over time, then they can create that on a different conscious level.
Hello and welcome to 22 Steps into Spirituality based on Ancient Freemason Knowledge with Chris Earnshaw. My name is Philipp Kobald. This is, as I've been always saying in the introduction, not only for Freemason, it's for everyone interested in very hands-on practical advice, how to spiritually develop. It's more like an inner journey throughout the temple. It's an inner journey throughout the first 3 degrees of Freemasonry. And we're lucky to have Chris Earnshaw presenting some ideas from his new book to us. Hello and welcome back, Chris.
Thank you.
To clear up confusion with the last video, when you said "we in Japan," that basically means you are living in Japan.
Yes.
For those people who are a bit confused and thinking you don't look like quite Japanese yet.
Not yet.
But you're there for many years and you're very much inspired by Eastern philosophies. That is also one of the why this is such an interesting journey for those 22 steps. It's not only Freemasonry, you're bringing elements from many different sides. And with this, I think we are at lecture 8. I give the floor to you and I'm looking forward to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. So lesson 8 is about tracing boards and using them as portals. So sacred images are used as gateways to spiritual insight. And so Freemasons use tracing boards, which have symbolic images on them, to teach Freemasonry, teach lessons. In Taoism, visualization is a form of inner cultivation. And the spiritual principle is that symbols are doorways, not destinations. They invite you to a deeper awareness. My opening quote from today's Zhuangzi is that a sign is not the thing itself, but it points the way to it. Tracing boards initially were not boards, but they were traced with chalk on the floor of the pub or the tavern where the brethren were meeting. And at the end of the meeting, the brethren would use a mop and destroy the image, which is very much what mandalas are like. I think it's mandala. In India, in Tibet, they make these beautiful designs using chalk, and then at the end of the time, they just sweep it away. This is the same as was being done in the 1700s. Yes. So when we think of these drawings on the floor, what has been drawn? Normally there are tools, symbols, pillars, stars, sometimes allegorical figures. And they serve as a map of the spiritual journey. And there's one for each degree. And so they help deepen the Freemasons' understanding beyond the words that are being used. And a good example I can think of is from the Atlanta Fugians by Michael Meyer. It's an alchemical drawing done in 1618, and it shows a man standing outside the gate of a walled garden. From the angle of the artist, we can see what is in the garden, but the person standing outside the gate cannot see. The gate has 3 locks on it, and the inscription says that the door is locked 3 times, and only the person with the key would be able to enter this alchemical garden. It's actually quite easy, because in Freemasonry we are taught to knock 3 times, and had to knock once to enter the to the lodge, and the second time you had to ask a brother or someone to introduce you, and then the third time you had to knock to enter the lodge. The idea of 3 knocks and then the 3 locks on the door. So the whole concept of this is that the person, first of all, looks at the image of the man standing outside the gate to the garden and look at all the plants inside the garden at the same time. And then you imagine yourself knocking on the door 3 times distinctly. That's not but large 3 individual locks. And then the door will be open to you, and you can then enter into this alchemical garden. And this is an exercise you do in your mind. It's one of many that was invented in alchemical teachings to help people become more spiritual. In Taoism, we think of invoking archetypal energies. And so this visualization is then a bridge from the external world to our internal world. It recognizes that the symbols awaken what lies latent in our subconsciousness.
May I not be completely silent this time to ask?
Okay, that's okay.
Yes. 2 questions, because one to me is interesting because the mandalas are very specific, right? The power lies within the drawing and then letting it go back to the universe, the energy.
Yes.
So do you think that there is a difference between like the old way drawing them with charcoal on the floor and being present when the mandalas are basically there, or these drawings are there, and then letting them back to the universe, and now having fixed boards? Do you think there is an energy difference between that process of drawing?
I don't think the intention is the same. I think writing on the floor was just expedient. They didn't have paper, but later date these boards became rather like rolled up drawings on canvases. And so when the degree was performed, the canvas was rolled out, and then there was the new candidate was lectured. Some lodges, these have been made into large boards, 3 foot by 5 foot high, and then they're put on an easel and make it easier to explain to many people.
So you don't think it has any effect if it's done and destroyed? And another question.
I think that's just a coincidence.
All right. And another question, because you were just mentioning, I know I asked you already before, but I'll try it again. Is there a strong connection between certain alchemistic teaching and Freemason? It's always an open discussion, and I think you said no last time, if I understood you correctly.
No, I think there's a time difference between Austria and Japan. No, there is a strong alchemical teaching, particularly in the 2nd degree, which I believe is based on alchemy. And my book on the 2nd degree is in fact called Freemasonry, Spiritual Alchemy. So there is a very strong alchemical content to Freemasonry. Yes.
Then I'm so sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
It's best to clear this up.
In another of my book, there is in the initiation by light, near the end, there's a picture by Hogarth of a Masonic, procession. And at the front of the procession, which I think is this side, there are 4 Confucian philosophers. And this picture is known by the name of The Mystery of Freemasonry Brought to Light by Ye Gormagons. And these, in the picture, you can see the bucket and mop that was used for destroying the picture or the tracing board on the floor after each meeting. So it's a small detail that Hogarth was very good on details. Anyway, yes, so I think both Freemasonry and Taoism, they, instead of symbols giving you a fixed answer, they invite you to a personal experience. And I think that's very important. So then for some exercises that may be useful for brethren, for example, you can draw your own simple tracing board. So a piece of paper, A5 vertical, draw pillars, an altar, square and compasses, the sun and moon and stars, and then quieten your mind, close your eyes, and imagine yourself walking into or stepping into that board that you have drawn, and walk around the images, touch the square and compasses, touch everything you want to, see it from a different angle. Yeah. And then after a while, open your eyes and then imagine look at the picture again. Second idea is, following on from that, is to ask yourself which symbols felt most alive to you. Were there any emotions or thoughts that arose during the exercise? And did you get any insights or questions? This is a form of visualization using a tracing board of your own design. And if you want to carry it through the week, choose one of the symbols, the compass or the sun, and focus on it for a week. When you've got a quiet moment, having a cup of coffee, think about that image and perhaps have a key word for it. For example, sun, illumination, or sun is heat, or the compass, direction, or circles, or something like that. And that's it. The closing thought would be that the symbol is the door, and step gently inside and be prepared to meet yourself. The end.
Of course, I have to thank you. Of course, I have to ask, do you think that if you're not a Freemason, that just the symbol itself has a teaching and power, or would draw, if you're not a Freemason, a board that it's something that you better understand or better can relate to, just for the people who are not Freemasons watching this particular episode?
Yes, I think that if you use mundane images, like if you're a cook and you use images such as a cooking knife or a whisk or a bowl or a rolling pin, I don't think these will evoke spiritual messages for you because they're connected with your work. It would be better if you tried to use religious or semi-religious tools, like Freemasonry isn't a religion, to use these ideas, because there's an idea in spiritual exercises called thought forms. Are you familiar with thought forms? Yes,
Somehow, yeah.
Yes.
I'm silently nodding.
Okay, silently nodding. So a thought form is the concept that if enough people think of the same thing over time, then they can create that on a different conscious level. So there's been a famous experiment in Toronto. It was done in the 70s, called the Toronto Psychic Association, I think it was called. And they conjured up an entity or a ghost called Philipp by coincidence. And they were able to ask the ghost questions, and the ghost would reply by rapping on the table, knocking on the table. And that was a spiritual exercise of creating a thought form. So thought forms are not just people, but they can be your own spiritual lodge. You can make a spiritual lodge and have things inside there which only belong to you.
All right. It is a answer that for those people who understand, may understand that basically you recommend. So I need to be more clarified. So you think a non-Freemason should use basic archaic forms like triangles and circles, like basic established forms, as you said, sub-religious, not to have, the cross with Jesus or not, but to have basic forms that are well established and have this higher spiritual meaning. That's what would recommend a non-Mason. That's correct.
For a person who's not a Mason, things like crystal ball, for example, an ankh, the Egyptian cross that has a circle on the top. These sort of things are very powerful for thousands of years, and people are familiar with them. What else is there? Pendulums and these sort of things. Yes. Fire as well. Imagine fire, small fire, something burning. Paper.
Oh. All right. This, I think, was very helpful, because for those who are not watching, to understand how these drawings might look, I think now we get a very concrete. Thank you. Now we know what we're supposed to do. Again, I'm inviting all of you, please be part of this little community. And if you have tried some of the things, and maybe if you were not Freemason, you drawed one of these papers, maybe you want to share it with us on our LinkedIn, YouTube comments. Maybe you want to share the symbols that you've been using. Maybe we can have a nice discussion about if the symbol is interesting or not, to have somebody else think of something else. So please, part of this discussion. And with that, to Tokyo, thank you very much. The time difference is getting again closer. Thank you very much, Chris.
Oh, goodbye, Belgrade.
Have a wonderful day.